Presentation takes about an hour and 15 minutes, a little more if people have a lot of questions, hour and a half then, and I'll stick around after if folks keep wanting to talk. And I think just raise your hand or if you have questions or if you have comments or feedback as we go. All right. So we call these solar co-ops, but essentially it's a solar group buy. And it's really important that the key to making this work is the partners that we have that help spread the word. So I much appreciate the City of Minnetonka being a partner, City of Minneapolis is a partner, a nonprofit called Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light, Eden Prairie, Coon Rapids, and the Minnesota Renewable Energy Society are a partner in this Twin Cities area solar co-op. So Sun, we're a vendor neutral national nonprofit. We just want to emphasize that vendor neutral. We encourage all solar installers to bid for the group's business, and I'll go through how that process works. We don't have a specific relationship with any particular solar installer. And like I said before, this is kind of how we think of ourselves in a sentence. We help people go solar, join together, and fight for their energy rights. Energy rights, the way we think of that is your ability and the ability of farmers and small business owners to be their own energy producers. And there is some conflict between people that want to produce lots of small energy and some of the utilities that want to have more centralized. We've helped 8,000 families go solar around the state. So, each time we do a solar group buy, we try to make the process a little better. We learn as we go. We have programs like this one in Minnesota in 12 states. Oops, sorry about that. And Puerto Rico and D.C. Here in Minnesota, I think these numbers are a little bit behind. We're a little over 250 now. We've helped about 200 folks go solar over the last 5 years. We've been doing this in Minnesota. Just a little bit about how we got started, because it's kind of a part of our DNA is how we think and how we work. Our origin story is Anya Schoolman, the woman in the middle with the sunglasses there. Her son saw an inconvenient truth, and they live in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood of Washington, D.C. And he said, "Mom, let's go solar." She said, "Sounds great, makes a lot of sense." But they really got different answers from the city and electricians and the power company on what they could do and what they were allowed to do and how much it would cost and what would work and what wouldn't work. So she's an organizer at heart, and she got a couple hundred people in her neighborhood together. And over a period of almost 2 years, they met, figured it all out, figured out how to work together to get a better price from a solar installer. That story made the news. People started calling her. She ran it out of her living room now, and now it's blossomed into the national organization we are today. But part of how we think, and it's both with policy and with helping folks go solar, is that you get more done when you work together, and you get more done more effectively when what you work on is centered on people's real life experience. So just in case you didn't get it, here's our theory of change. We help people go solar, then join together and fight for our energy rights, working for policy that makes more solar possible. One recent policy win we had in Minnesota was a lot of HOAs would block solar. So we passed a law that says that in most cases, HOAs have to allow solar. If it's a single detached home, HOAs can't say no, even though sometimes they still try. We help people work through that law. Then the last thing about us and how we think about things, we're thinking about equity in our energy system. When the energy system we have has had some inequity built into how it operated in terms of who benefited and who was harmed. And we not only don't want to repeat that, but we want to see if we can create policy that makes up for some of that. So the rest of the presentation will go through the basics of solar technology. I think about, like, if you go to get your car repaired, you don't need to know what a catalytic converter does exactly. You don't know anything about it. You know you have one. And when they say it's the catalytic converter is your problem, you can know that makes sense or doesn't make sense. So we'll cover the basics of solar technology. So you got a fair understanding of the different aspects of it and how it works and what it should be doing, how it connects to the grid and works in your home. Then the economics of solar, including incentives we have available to us at the federal level and in Minnesota. And then how the solar co-op works, how you can join, and if you choose to, get a solar proposal for your home. All right, so just first thing to be clear is we're talking about photovoltaic solar, PV solar. There's other types of solar, hot water people use, but that's not what the solar co-op is about, though that stuff is great. We're talking about PV solar that takes the sun and turns it into electricity. So here's the basic components of a solar array on your home. On your roof, or if you got enough space and you want to put it on the ground, you could do it on a ground mount. You have your solar array, and that solar array takes the sun and turns it into direct current. And in your home, you use alternating current. So it'll go to an inverter, and that inverter will turn it into alternating current. Then it goes to your electrical panel. And just the way electricity works, it wants to be used up. It goes to the closest draw. So your light, your dryer, your refrigerator, whatever you're running in your house that needs electricity, it's going to go through your panel, and it's going to power those things before it gets to your meter. This is all before your meter. But on a nice 68-degree day and you've got your windows open and you're not running your AC and we're getting all that sun we get in the summer, a lot of folks will produce more solar than they are using in their home. So that solar that you don't use goes through your utility meter and onto the grid, and your neighbor will use it. The closest draw will use it. So your neighbor uses it for their hairdryer, their washing machine, their air fryer, their microwave, whatever they got going on. Xcel Energy charges them for using that electricity. And so you get a credit since it came from you. And that credit you get is something called net metering, which we'll go through how that works. Here's the components of a solar panel. You've got the frame, the glass, and an encapsulant that binds the glass to the solar cells, and more encapsulant, a back sheet, a junction box to join them together. And then you string those panels together and you get a solar array. The panels have two types of warranties to understand. One is a product warranty, which is typically 25 years. Sometimes it's 30. So we guarantee this product will be free from defects for that 25 years. Then there's a production warranty, which is normally goes to 25 years. And it basically says at the end of 25 years, this panel will produce 83% of the power it did on day one. It'll work at 83%. So those production warranties typically run between 83% to around 92, 93%. There's a few panels that have a 30-year warranty. Then a term to get yourself familiar with is kilowatts and kilowatt hours. So kilowatts is really a measurement of power. For those of us that used to buy screw-in light bulbs, old school, 60 watts, 120 watts, 120 watts was twice as bright as a 60 watt, is a measure of power. Then kilowatt hours is a measure of usage of that power. So if you look at your Xcel utility bill, it'll have how many kilowatt hours you used and what they're charging you per kilowatt hour. I think it's around 15 cents now. And then your solar array will be sized in terms of kilowatts. Then racking. Here's some folks, some installers, using good safety equipment, putting up a racking system on an asphalt roof. And the thing I think to know about racking systems is this is a pretty well-developed industry now. Early on, people were figuring out as they go, but that's no longer the case. So for every type of roof, there's a racking system developed that will work well on your roof. And problems with roof penetrations are not very common anymore. It can happen, but it's shouldn't, and it's certainly not the norm. Metal roofs are great. You'll see the clamp on the seam of the metal roof. You don't even have to penetrate the roof. Those are particularly easy roofs to do solar on. There's a ballast system, ground mount system. Then the next piece of equipment was the inverter. So that's what takes that direct current and turns it into alternating current. And there's two kinds really. A string inverter, where all the panels feed into one inverter, strung together. And then microinverters, where every panel has a small inverter right on it. And there's kind of a combo of the two, which is string inverters with optimizers. And here's a diagram of how the string inverters work. The downside of string inverters is that if there's one panel that's partially shaded, then all the panels are reduced to that level of output because of the nature of how electricity works. String inverters work well if you have a ground mount or a roof that's positioned particularly well and you have no shade. The advantage would be there's less points of failure. And then here's string inverters. Each panel has a microinverter, or you can do a combo where there's a string inverter with DC optimizers. Now your installer will recommend what they think you should get. Most common in Minnesota for home situations is microinverters. There are some good installers that like to do a string inverter with optimizers too. The other thing about the inverter is that it's what's going to communicate either if you have Wi-Fi through Wi-Fi, or if you don't have Wi-Fi, you'll need to get a cellular chip a cell phone chip for your inverter. It'll communicate to you the health of your system, and what you're producing. Because you don't know, your electric bill won't show you what you're producing. It shows you what power you use. Xcel or your power company doesn't know the power that's produced behind the meter and that you're using. So you can get a pretty good idea of that through the app that these microinverters use. The microinverters, they're typically a 25-year warranty, and the string inverters are between 12 and 15, though they're pushing those up. They're trying to get, I think, to the 25, but they're not there yet. Any questions so far? Or? Yeah.
So on the monitoring, is it going to tell you if one panel isn't working right or one of the...
Yeah, I just got an email from a guy today who said, hey, one of my panels isn't working, what do I do? You call your installer. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a recording going, so
I can repeat, or I can repeat it. So the question was, will the inverter's app tell you if there's a panel down? Yeah, it'll tell you if there's a panel down. It'll also show the longer you have your system, it'll show you usage over time. They'll probably do more than most folks ever want to look at, but there's some folks that really like to dig in. Your installer will also be monitoring that, and if you're not someone who checks in on it every day, they might see that you have a problem before you do. Yeah.
and maybe it'll come later, but you talked about how when the panels are producing
Yep.
energy, it'll go first to power your house, and then the excess goes in to the system. But can you do they give you maybe a battery that would store it so you can use it at night in your house when it's not producing?
Yeah, so the question is about batteries, at night or when the power's out. Yeah, you'd have to, I'll talk about batteries a little bit. Batteries are awesome, they're expensive right now. So that's the downside on batteries, but I got a little section on them. So your electrical panel, the system will connect to your home through your electrical panel. Most panels have room, you know. If your panel at your home, you know, there's no empty slots there, you might need an upgrade on your panel. Cost $1,000, $2,000 depending on the situation. Then a good roof for solar. So south facing is the best, of course, but panels are so efficient now that west and east facing roofs are fine. If you got an installer that's really gung-ho to put solar panels on the north side of your house, I'd say look elsewhere. It happens, so just find another installer. Little or no shading is best. And then, you know, you want enough roof space. We think, and then you don't want to put panels up on a roof that's going to need replacement soon. So we recommend you have at least 10 years of life on your roof. You'll have to pay your installer and installer to take them down and put them back up when you get a new roof. So net metering, that's key in our state to making solar pencil out. So that's the process where the electricity that you don't use, that your neighbor uses, that Xcel charges them for, the process of how you get a credit for that at roughly retail. That's state law. We were the first state to adopt net metering in '88, I think. And on your old style meters, it was clear when it was happening because the little disc that would run backwards when electricity was flowing backwards through the meter. But now with the digital meters, it's not as clear what's happening. So your electric bill is, you know, it's the amount you get from the grid. So in this example, someone got 300 kilowatt hours. They exported 200 kilowatt hours. So they produced that and didn't use it. So they'll get the bill for 100 kilowatt hours. Now those numbers could be reversed. And you have a credit for 100 kilowatt hours. All right, so batteries. So when the power goes out, your system shuts down. And the reason is you don't want to feed electricity back onto the grid. There's a lines person out there trying to fix it. They're shocked and harmed or killed. So the default for all solar is that when the power goes out, it shuts down. There are some inverters, and it used to be just a few, now it's more and more common. You can create a situation where your solar will continue to work after the power goes out, and it'll be blocked from going to the grid. Those, though it seems like it's easy to do, it's not that easy to do, and it's kind of an expense. Most people opt not to do it after they see how much it costs, but you know, you can always ask what that would cost to do in your situation. So if you want power at night, if you want power when the grid's down, you're looking at batteries. So most people that are interested in batteries are folks that get frequent utility outages. You got critical loads at home, medical equipment, or you work from home and that Wi-Fi has to keep going. Or you're just in emergency and disaster preparedness and you like the idea of being a little bit more self-sufficient. It does, if you do get batteries, and if you're interested in your solar paying for itself, at some point, once you add batteries, that was very unlikely to happen. It both increases the cost, and instead of putting the electricity that you produce and don't use back onto the grid and get compensated for it, most of it's going into your battery now. Here's an example of a 13.5 kilowatt hour battery pack. So what you'll do if you'll get a battery is you'll set up a circuit in your house that battery powers. The battery won't power your whole house. So you'll figure out with your installer, think through, what do I want powered? So typically it's a refrigerator, a microwave, a modem, maybe a small air conditioner. Stove, dryers, electric washers, anything that produces heat just uses so much electricity, it draws the battery down so quick. People usually don't opt to have those powered by their battery. This is an example, I think this is about 2 years old now. This 25K solar array, a battery was going to add 12K to that in this situation. It usually ends up being a substantial cost of the overall system if you choose to get batteries. Then we do have a pretty in-depth guide on batteries. If you want to learn more, and we have a few people on staff that love batteries, and if you're looking into getting batteries and have questions, we have staff that will talk to you and will love to talk to you about it. So just to review back on the technology, the terminology, I mean, you got your solar array on your roof, produces direct current, goes to your inverter, which turns it into alternating current. That inverter is also what keeps you in the loop, gives you status report of how much you're producing, are your panels working, goes to your electrical panel. You use what you need, you share the rest with the community. They get charged for it by Xcel, and you get credited for what they use. We went through warranties. Homeowners insurance, call ahead before you get solar and ask your insurer what they charge. It varies tremendously. If they want to increase your insurance by quite a bit, it's usually worth shopping around. And we haven't been able to get a really good handle on, is this particular insurer better than the others, and stuff varies from state to state, but there will be some increase most likely, so it's just good to know what that is and make sure it's reasonable. Maintenance, nothing's maintenance free, there's always problems, and just dealing with someone who went solar with us last year, and squirrels, chewed through some of his cables, so, but for the most part, for most folks, there's no regular maintenance you need to do, and there's no maintenance as long as things are operating correctly. How long do they last? So the warranty is for 25 years, the production warranty. So this current crop of high-quality panels, they're out there now. We don't really know. Like, are you going to want to, after 25 years, are you going to want to replace your panels because the new panels are so much more efficient and it's worth it? But the warranty is for 25 years, and we would expect that, they'll last longer than that. Yeah.
As it relates to that production warranty, you said 83% at the end of year 25.
Right.
To day one.
Yeah.
Is let's say the efficiency degradation, if the panels are working properly, is that kind of a linear degradation over time? Meaning,
Yeah, I got you. I'm no expert on this, but basically it degrades a little bit quicker early on and then levels off and degrades kind of evenly.
and if it goes, say it gets to a point, can it recover back up, or if you're already kind of below the curve of staying on track, 83%, will you always be under that? I mean, do you get this checked regularly to make sure, at the end of your time, like if you're at
Yeah,
50%, I'm already going to be, my production warranty is going to be violated. Does that make sense?
No, that does make sense. I don't know the answer to that question. Like, so how do you know that they're at 83%? And then,
Till the end of year 25, or
It-
do you
the-
have points throughout?
well, the warranty is actually so much a year. And I just shorthanded it so at the end of the year 25. But in the warranty, it says so much a year. But that's a good question, like how do you check and make sure? I'm going to look into that because I don't know the answer to that. It seems like the app for the inverter should help you with that, but I don't know for sure that it does. HOA, if you have a single detached home, the HOA can't say no, and we're happy to help you with that if they try to. Historic districts, that's tough. We've tried, and you're usually not successful. Any more questions about solar technology before we move on to the, yeah?
Maintenance. I mean, I've seen people cleaning those panels before. Like, don't they ever need cleaning or?
Yeah, so, and snow is the other thing. So, we get so little sunlight in the winter that, the loss that you get to just letting it go and letting the snow just fall off when it falls off is pretty minimal. I can't remember the number, but it's a pretty small amount. So a lot of folks will fuss with it early on and then give up and realize they're not losing that much production. But they don't need cleaning. But if you want to get the snow off, you'll get a little bit more production. But most folks don't hassle with that. Anything else, or?
That was my question about the snow.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like, the Prius drivers that want to figure out how to get, 50 miles per gallon versus 47. If that's what you want to do, getting the snow off, you're going to get a little more. You just want to make sure you've got something, and they make products that don't damage the panels. Yeah.
Is theft, how prevalent is theft? Is that
Is what?
theft of your panels, does that happen?
I've never heard of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never either, so it's,
Yeah, I've never heard of that. The thing that the thing that happens the most, and it doesn't happen that frequently, is critters, just chewing at something. And you can put in critter guards. Most people don't, and most people never have a problem. And then some people do. I don't know that there's a way to predict that. Yeah.
I have a question, thinking about this for a cabin we have
Uh-huh.
as well. What, when it's not, when it's used in 3 months out of the year, these panels are just sitting there.
Yeah.
Good, you have to be checked on.
Is it tied to the grid? Does your cabin get power from the grid?
It does, it's powered.
Yeah. No, they don't need to be checked on, but you would be able to check on it through your app.
Okay,
Yeah, as long as there's Wi-Fi. And if you don't have Wi-Fi there, you would pay it's $500 to get a cellular card, around $500 for a cellular card that lasts for 10 years.
you need Wi-Fi.
You need Wi-Fi or that's,
Remote.
so you what you would do is get that cellular card that costs $500 for 10 years. And then you could check it remotely. You don't have to have that, but I guess I would want it. Yeah. That make sense?
Yes, I'm just thinking snow, way, way, way up north, and then there's a ton of snow. Now you have these panels.
Yeah, I mean, they're more sturdy than shingles. They can take the snow. Yeah, yep. Yep, that's not a problem.
You said shingles, how long till the solar shingles are like actually a thing?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Tesla's got them, and, Tesla was installing solar in Minnesota, and then they weren't, and, yeah, I mean, you just know when you know with Elon Musk, I think. Yeah. But I don't get the feeling that they're anytime soon, yeah, to be in what. Yeah, and there'll be a question about whether or not they work in Minnesota, because I don't think they're as efficient as solar panels, so I'm not sure, unless the cost came way down on them, that they'd ever be worth it here.
Somebody has to ask it, but what does damage it? I mean, hail or high winds or anything like that?
I'm sure it can happen, but I don't know of that happening. Yeah. So hail, I've never heard of that being a problem, and I don't know of someone who had wind damage to their panels. Yeah. Critters are the thing that I see the most. Yeah.
Because I know a little bit about vans and campers with them on,
Oh, sure.
the houses will have that glass panel over protecting the solar parts. So generally speaking, unless the glass breaks,
Yeah.
and even if it breaks, it won't ruin the solar part.
Right. Right.
So probably,
And on an RV, they don't have that. They don't have the glass protective cover.
different types do.
Uh,
I've got a curved one that doesn't,
Oh, I see.
so that can get damaged more, but even that technology is getting better.
Yep.
So it's all relative. Generally speaking, if there's glass covering it, it would take a pretty big number of things.
Yeah. Yep, yep. All right, economics of solar here. So this graph shows just the drop in costs, and you can see that from the 70s to today, it's just plummeted, and it's gotten better, you know, as they've been mass-produced, and it's the energy of the future, and people are investing in it heavily, and with the Inflation Reduction Act, even more so. There's a 30% federal tax credit in place now until 2032. So 30% of the cost of your solar, and that includes any electrical upgrades you need to make solar work, you can take as a credit against income tax owed. So if the credit is more than you owe, you don't get money back, but you can roll that credit over until you use it up. So if you don't use it all in 1 year, you can just keep going until you do use it up. So as long as you have, you know, in the next, you know, 5 or 6 years, an income tax burden that's going to be equal to 30% of the cost of your solar, you'll recoup that. But of course, you got to upfront the money to the installer. Here's some kind of back of the envelope numbers. We'll look at an 8 kilowatt system. So $25,600 at $3.20 a watt. That's, we're just making something up here that's reasonable. The income tax credit would be $7,680. So your net cost is $17,920. Then you figure your year one savings. And in this example, it's the $1,293. Then your 10-year savings is $13,829. And then savings over, it says lifetime, but what we mean there is 25 years, is $26,813. So you net over that 25 years, in this example, $20,893. Your installer, if you ask them to, and some of them just do it by default, can tell you, and you could figure it out also, what's the year at which the system pays for itself. In Minnesota, that's around 12 years. You know, if you have a decent roof, not very complicated install, you know, it can go down to 8. If you hear an installer telling you you're never going to pay a utility bill again, make your money back in 3 years, that's just not possible for most folks, so be pretty skeptical. When you're looking at how payback period is calculated, they're going to use a cost escalator for power. And it's going up, and Excel's asked for some pretty dramatic increases. It's not going to go down, and it's not going to stay the same. So, but if someone gives you your payback period on a proposal, make sure you look at the assumptions they made and find out what the cost escalator. We require that they use a very conservative 2% cost escalator when we work with an installer, just so you're getting a number that's, you know, pretty conservative. And this is a pricing chart showing a loan payment. And I mean, the short and long of it is, you know, over a 25-year period, you'll still have a payback period with a loan. It'll be less, you know, interest is eating up some of that money. In terms of loans, some installers offer loans, and I think it's worth seeing what they do. Used to be a home equity line of credit was great, or if you were refinancing, that's changed a little bit with interest rates now, but it's something to consider. We have all the financing we know of on our website here, solarunitedneighbors.org/financing. And if you scroll down to the bottom, there'll be there's a picture of the states, and click on Minnesota to get some Minnesota-specific examples. Here's some that I just recommend you take a look at. The Lending Center at the Center for Energy and Environment is a nonprofit that makes home improvement loans, loans to make your house more energy efficient, and solar loans. They usually have a pretty good rate and very reasonable closing costs. Affinity Plus Credit Union and Highway Credit Union have this CU Green Solar. This Members Cooperative Credit Union, that's up in Duluth. Might not be the best for here, but, and then, clicking through this, because the Center for Energy and the Environment works with the city of Minnetonka. Some cities work with the Center for Energy and Environment, and they work with Minnetonka. So they have the 3%, and 10. You can see the rates there at 3%, and the APR at 5 and 10. I double checked right before I came here, and this applies to solar, so you can do this for solar. So if I was looking for financing, I'd go there first. They're quick. They can tell you if you qualify and give you a rate. Turnaround's pretty quick. Then solar incentives. So Xcel Energy has a program called Solar Rewards. So when Xcel Energy built Prairie Island Nuclear Facility, they said they wouldn't store waste there. And we were supposed to build a national repository. We never built it. So when they were full there with the storage, when they were at capacity and wanted to store waste there, it was a big to-do in 99, 2000. A lot of folks wanted it to be shut down. Ultimately, the agreement was they could store waste there, but they had to pay into something called the Renewable Development Account. And that money would be used to shift the state towards renewable energy. And that's what pays for this solar rewards program, money from that account. So it pays 3 cents a kilowatt hour for 10 years. So at the end of a year, Xcel will mail you a check based on that formula. And to get it, you have to limit the size of your solar array to 120% of your usage. So you don't have to do that. But if you want that 3 cents a kilowatt hour, you have to do that. You can go up to 40 kilowatt hours and 40 kilowatts and still get net metering. That's larger than any home would ever need. So there are some situations where if you've got a big, flat, nice roof, it's at a low incline, easy to install solar, your payback period might be better if you just install 200% of your annual usage and you take advantage of net metering. So whatever installer you choose to work with, let them know what you're interested in. And I see two categories, really. Some folks are interested in producing as much solar as they can, no matter what, no matter if that's the most economical thing or not. They just want to produce as much solar as they can. And then the second category is usually like, I want the quickest payback period. But that quickest payback period, depending on your situation, may or may not include taking advantage of this 3 cents. If you get that 3 cents a kilowatt hour, if you opt for that, there will be a second meter put up at your house by Xcel, a production meter, that will show exactly what you're producing, because they need to know that to pay you your 3 cents. And that's guaranteed for 10 years, or that payment lasts for 10 years. So here's what those numbers look like what is this, a 5 kilowatt system. The solar rewards on a 5 kilowatt system is about $279 there. So over the 10 years, $2,790. So it's definitely worth doing if it works out for you. But it used to be a lot larger. So it used to be something you'd probably never consider not doing. But now it's something to think about whether or not it makes sense or not. There's a second solar rewards program for income qualified folks. So if you are in any of these categories, if you get energy assistance, Section 8 housing, Habitat for Humanity candidate, if you're on WIC or SNAP, if you own a community land trust home or a medical assistance MA recipient, you can get an upfront incentive of $275 a watt, which is pretty substantial. And with this, your payback period, well, here's an example. The 5 kilowatt system at $15,700. The solar rewards would pay you $13,750. So if you check any of those boxes, this person's out of pocket would be, you just right at $2,000. So we always have, as part of our solar group buy, an avenue for folks that are lower income to go solar, and part of it is tapping into this. The other thing we ask the installers that we work with on the solar co-op to do is to wait until these payments come in to take payment, so people don't have to front the money and then shortly get it back. Any questions on the incentives? All right. So how these solar co-ops work. Essentially, it's a solar group buy. Like I said, we started in DC, where co-ops are not used as much, and the term doesn't mean what it means here. It's not a legal co-op. It's, you know, the folks we bring together to work together to go solar together. And then after the group buy's done, you know, it's Sun's still around, and you're welcome to be a member of Sun, but that entity's gone. So typically, why do we see people going through this solar co-op? Concern about getting a good price, get a good value through a competitive bidding process. Support throughout the process. Me and other Sun staff are here to help answer any questions. I meet with the solar installer once a week, see how things are going. If anyone's having a problem, you know, we're an advocate for the members of the co-op. Connect with other folks going solar, and some folks, a lot of folks that go solar want to stay a part of making more solar possible. Then this is why the solar co-op works. You'll see there, that's a graph of how the prices have gone down, and system components, that yellow, it's decreased dramatically and the quality's gone up. Labor costs have gone down as people get better at installing it and the equipment gets easier to install. But the soft costs, the costs of procuring customers, that hasn't gone down. That's why if you've Googled, I want to get solar or solar at my house, and you gave anybody your email, you're flooded, usually, with all kinds of offers, because there's all these lead generators. They're companies that are trying to get you interested, and they'll pass you off to an installer. Or they'll have the contract with you, but someone else will be installing the solar. So there's a big industry around procuring customers. And what we're telling these installers is, you know, we got 150 folks, or we're gonna get 150 folks, and they've gone through a Solar 101. We've looked at their roof work, it is possible for solar to work on their roof. So it's a group of people that solar installers want to have access to. Here's the steps of the solar co-op. So we do these Solar 101s, partners help spread the word. And then if you want to go solar, I'll show you the webpage in a second. You sign up online to be a member of the solar co-op. It's free to join. There's no obligation to go solar. It takes about 5 minutes. Once we get a certain number of members, usually around 50, we put out an RFP to solar installers, a request for proposals, saying, if you want the co-op's business, give us your bid. And we've got a standardized process they have to go through. So, you know, we're comparing apples to apples on their costs and their equipment. So we've gone through that process already with the Twin Cities Area Solar Co-op. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. We got 7 bids, and we selected the installer. The company's name is iSolar. So we worked with them last year too. So here's the page for the solar co-op. So if you join the solar co-op, here's what happens. We do a satellite roof review of your property just to make sure you're not totally surrounded by trees or, you know, just not gonna work. So if your house gets enough sun to make solar work, you're in. We'll send you a series of emails once a week, some key stuff about solar. And iSolar will call you and give you a bid for solar on your property at the solar co-op price. So you'll be dealing with them, they'll be calling you, they'll give you a proposal. You take a look at that and you decide if you want to do it. And you're welcome to get bids from other companies too, and I'm always happy to make recommendations of some other solar installers that I know do good work. You'll decide if you want to sign the contract with them. If you do, great, and you'll go solar through the co-op at the co-op price. For every contract signed, Sun gets $600, and that's just built into the price. There's not an extra $600 you'll see on the bill. And then I'm happy to look at your solar proposal with you if you want. Some folks send it to me, and I email back my feedback, or we set up a time to meet or talk on the phone. So that's a wrap. This is the easiest email to reach me at, Minnesota team at solarunitedneighbors.org. And then again, solarunitedneighbors.org/Twin Cities is the webpage to join. So I'd say if you join, you should have a proposal within 3 weeks. Any questions, thoughts, feedback? Yeah.
As you look at different installers, are they all using the same panels, same efficiency, or is the panel going to vary depending on the installer?
Yeah, the question was about the quality of the equipment. So, all the installers are getting their equipment from the same, distributors. So any installer can get any equipment. I think they get, they'll favor one over the other in terms of their base panel that they'll offer if you don't ask for any kind of upgrade. If you get what's called a tier 1 panel, which any reputable installer will be using, to me, I kind of feel like, some are better than the others, but it's marginal. But I drive a Prius and I'm happy with it, So, but yeah, you can look if you want an upgrade, if you want an American-made panel or a higher efficiency panel, you can ask for that, and they all offer that. And in the solar co-op, there's a base panel, and then if folks want to upgrade, there's an additional cost for that. So, some folks really like to go in the weeds on the panels and get the best of the best, and other folks are happy with the best price as long as the warranty's solid. Yeah.
Does it affect the quality, does it affect your longevity or anything? Like you go for a high quality panel or you get more life on it?
Well, what would increase is the production warranty. So, a lot of panels run around, I want to say around 85, 86, 87, and the higher tier panels will be, 93, 92. Yeah, and some do that to 30 years instead of 25. So, a little bit more, yeah, exactly, yeah. And you'll just have to compare the price to see if you think that little bit more is worth it. Yeah.
Have you guys looked into where the panels are made and if it's environmentally destructive, where they're being made, and does that outweigh, does the carbon footprint we use here outweigh what's happening where they're made?
Yeah, so the question is about once you take into account the transportation, the mining, the child labor, is it a net gain? So, the people that look into it say, yes, it's a net gain for the environment. There are American-made panels, so if you want to avoid Chinese-made panels, it's possible. Probably, though, those American-made panels probably get their raw ingredients from China. So it's hard to be a purist on this, and still buy a panel. It's something that the industry's trying to figure out, but I wouldn't say it's figured out yet. Now, on the what's the lifespan of a panel, what happens after they're done, I think we're making great progress on that. Panels are pretty uniform. There are already companies that recycle them. A lot of them will, I think, go to usage in a country like Mexico, where a panel that's at 80% is fine, as long as you get it at a really great price. So on the recycling side, I think the industry's ahead of the curve on most stuff. On the, where it comes from and where it's made, there's stuff to be worked out. Now, with the Inflation Reduction Act, there was a lot of money invested in tax credits and incentives for folks to build manufacturing plants here, and that's happening. But that's a 2-3 year a timeline. But Helene panels are made on the Iron Range. They're kind of hard to get here in Minnesota for some reason, though. But there are American-made options, yeah.
Back to net metering, so.
Yeah.
Did I hear you correctly? So it's the excess that you push out.
Yep.
Would be consumed theoretically by your neighbors, right?
Not, in actuality, yeah. That electron's going to your neighbor, yeah.
And is there any, in its first use, so if it's available, their house is the state, right?
Yep, yeah, yeah.
And is there any cap on net metering?
So our state law is that if you're 40 kilowatts and below, you're entitled to net metering. And the law is that they have to pay you roughly retail for what you put back on the grid. So that, they're charging them, 15 cents a kilowatt hour, they're crediting you 15 cents a kilowatt hour. Roughly, like,
If you're not using it, you can push out as much excess and it would be consumed.
up to, yeah, it's gonna get used, yeah. And up to 40 cents a kilowatt hour. Up to 40 kilowatts, which is large, very large for a home. You wouldn't never go beyond that. So, that's a state law. That could change. We've had it since '88. I don't see it changing. It's been attacked in other states. In Florida, the investor-owned utility tried to roll it back. The legislature actually did roll it back. We have a strong Florida program. We fought, and the governor vetoed it. In Indiana, they did roll it back, but they grandfathered in everybody who already had it. So usually when they roll it back, they're grandfathering in the people that already have it to kind of neutralize a base of opposition, so. But it could be changed in Minnesota, but I don't see it happening.
So that kind of begs the question, if I can put more panels up,
Yep.
will the payback be better? Because it's a cost benefit, it's relative to everybody's solution.
Well, the reason putting more panels up sometimes makes sense is that the more you put up, the cheaper it is per watt that you're putting up. Yeah. And if your house has got a nice flat roof and it's a, 1.5 story and it's an easy install, sometimes you can get a lot of solar up there for a very affordable price. And it makes sense to, let's say your 120% would put you at an 8 kilowatt system, but your roof can accommodate 15. It might make sense economically for you to do the 15 and forego the. Yeah, exactly. Those stuff, that all adds price. So, and then, of course, the larger you get, the less you're paying per watt, yeah. Yep.
Another question kind of about relative carbon footprints, but if, you have trees that partially shade your house.
Oh,
And so that sort of protects your house from
yeah,
getting a lot of sun in the summer, so you don't use air conditioning as much.
right.
Do you have a sense of like the relative, like what's better?
No. Yeah, the thing is, should I cut down a tree or not? We never recommend cutting down trees. Now, sometimes you can trim a tree back a little bit, and that can make quite a bit of difference. But I have no idea if, what's better or not, yeah. Now, I should mention, I should just incorporate in the presentation, we have community solar in Minnesota. So that's what I use. My house is way too shaded and my roof's way too, I got dormers all over it, so it wouldn't work. So I subscribe to a community solar garden, they sell me electricity at a lower rate than Xcel would, basically. So I get a credit for what I buy from them, and my bill's lowered. And so you don't save as much, and since you own it, there's not like, now I own it, and I'm not paying anything, but there's a way to get solar. So if you're interested in that, we have info on that on our website too. And you can do both. You can have solar and get community solar. Yeah. Yep.
Is there a difference in series versus parallel setup of the panels which would compensate for clouds? You know what I mean by that?
No, I've never heard of that, yeah. If that's a thing, I don't know anything about it, right?
It has to do with how you wire the panels together.
Yeah,
Because like you're saying, it degrades when there's a string.
yeah.
If you don't do it that way, it doesn't degrade, but it has some other trade-offs.
Yeah, I've never heard of somebody doing that, yeah. It doesn't mean it's not a thing, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah.
Could you comment on home value for resale?
thanks.
with solar panels.
Yeah.
And then the second, as far as, you mentioned 250 Minnesotans have
Yeah.
participated in Sun, but you have a sense of, the number of residents within Minnesota who have put panels on their home.
You know, I have that number written down, and I'm bad with numbers, so I can't even guess. I'll get it wrong. Homeowners value. Yeah, so studies show your home value will go up, which makes sense. You have something on your house now that generates electricity and lowers the cost of the next homeowner. Key to getting the value is you gotta find a realtor that knows how to talk about solar and like knows how to talk about it enthusiastically. Say, oh yeah, it's a great thing, your solar bill's lowered, let me show you some of these warranties and that. So you just gotta get a realtor that knows what they're looking at. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is asking for your observation, I guess,
Oh.
answering a question.
Yeah.
When it comes back to the insurance companies and what they would quote you, if you're considering a solar installation, does that include not only the solar installation that's now in your house that is now insured to some degree or another, but the secondary piece is you do get hail on your non-solar part of the house, your roof has to be replaced, you have shingle matching, and now the solar installation has to come out for a new roof to be put on before it can be reinstalled. I mean, does that conversation happen and kind of get covered for a reasonable amount, or is that a real headache?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't fully know the answer, but there is a person in this solar co-op who got hail damage, got a new, and the hail's gonna cover a new roof, and the solar company, she had to argue with them, but she got a fair number for, because what they have to do is take the panels down and reinstall them. So in her case, it was covered. She decided to have them send her that check, and because the reason she's in the co-op, she wants to get more modern panels. She wants to get more efficient panels, but that's just an anecdote. For this person, it worked out, but it's supposed to cover that, yes. And in reality, does it often work out? I'm not sure, yeah. Me too, yeah. I've never had a good experience with my insurance company, yeah.
Are those warranties transferable to a new homeowner?
Yes, yeah, the warranties for the panel, yeah.
So if the warranties cover the panels, though, why does your insurance company need to also insure them?
Yeah, I think there's a big fire, tree falls on them, yeah, and, right. And if the panel goes, the warranty just covers the new panel or the new inverter,
And maybe only if the
not the labor.
malfunctions, but not if something falls on it.
Exactly, yeah. So if it goes bad, you have to cover the labor. A lot of installers, if it's early on, will just eat that, but they don't have to, yeah.
Does your roof warranty get invalidated when you install solar?
Yeah, I've never heard that it does, but actually, I don't know for sure on that. Yeah, I should know that, and I don't know that for sure, yeah.
I could see the argument from them when you try to claim a new roof.
Yeah, especially if it happened. I mean, I think if you got a leak under the panel, you'd have a hard problem getting you'd want the installer to cover that, yeah. Yep.
So I think you covered this earlier, but what was the recommended roof age for?
So what we like to see is that whatever your payback period is, which in Minnesota is going to be probably at least 12 years, you've got at least that much life left in your roof. So between 10 to 15, yeah.
So, there's another comment here, but if you have water leaking through from your roof where your solar panel is installed, who has the liability for that besides you, the homeowner?
Yeah, so that sounds like it would have been caused by the solar installer. So most installers have a warranty around roof penetrations that goes from 3 to 10 years. and it's, you know, covers a certain area from where the mounting was. So I can't remember if it's 12 inches or what. So, you know, the longer that warranty is, the better. If you are gonna have problems, you're gonna have them early on probably though. So 3 years probably takes care of you, but you know, 5 is better, 10 is better. So they all have a warranty for roof penetrations of some length of time. I've always seen them have that. Yeah, it's something you would want. Yeah. All right, well, I'll wrap it up, and I'll hang around if folks want to talk more, have any questions. And again, this is the website. It's easy to join. It gets you a bid from a reputable installer at a pretty fair price within 3 weeks. But we encourage folks to get other bids, you know, and I'm happy to help you find some other installers to talk to if you want to. Yep.
Do you have a recommendation for a website where you can do the mapping to see if your house or where you would put your solar panels would be suitable, or that, like, to show if you're
Yeah, the easiest one is, I could pull it up here. It's Google Sunroof, or it's Google has a website for it. Yeah, yeah, Project Sunroof. Thank you. My memory of using it and then comparing it to real life is it'll give you a little bit on the high end, but it'll let you see kind of where the best part of your roof is. It gives you a little color coded. Yeah, and it's worth looking at. Yeah.
So the 8 kilowatt example you used,
Yeah.
that's roughly how many square feet of panel?
Yeah.
Or maybe you have a better example.
No, let's go back and look at this. I don't keep this stuff in my head good, but there was a diagram here that had that in there. They're like the size of an American flag, roughly, you know, those panels. But let's.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how many go into a quote average.
Yeah. Let's see where it goes early on. Oh, there we go. How many panels is this? Yeah. That's 12. Oh, I thought I had the size there.
So those are 6 foot by 3 foot panels, and there are 12 of them. It looks like.
Yeah.
That's 4.8 kilowatt.
Yeah.
An 8 kilowatt system would be close to double that.
Yeah. So panels roughly are, they vary, and most panels are between 375 and 420 now.
So this is 12 by 18.
Yeah, but panels are all different, not sizes, but they're slightly different sizes, but they're different powers. Some are 375 watt, some are 420. Yeah, so they're around 375 usually, but they go up to 420. I think there might be some 450 ones. They're getting more powerful. Sorry, I don't know exactly the answer to that question. Yeah.
Did you say people come out if you sign up and they assess whether your roof is a good candidate for solar in terms of the amount of sun you get and also the quality of your shingles?
No, we won't look at your shingles. Yeah. Well,
Know ourselves, like, how good the roof is?
yeah. Now, the installer we're working with will give you an honest opinion about that, and they're also a roofer. But, yeah, have someone who knows about roofs or has some idea give you. Usually you can call the city and find out when there was a permit put in your roof, and you'll know the exact year of when your last roof was redone. Yeah. All right, I'm going to wrap it up, but I'm happy to hang around and talk to anyone else. So last thing, if you click on that and join, we'll do a satellite review, just see if you got enough sun, make it worthwhile on your roof. Then you're in. You'll be contacted by us Solar. They'll give you a proposal at the co-op price, and I'm happy to troubleshoot it with you or talk it through with you. And then if you want to get other bids, I'm happy to have a conversation with you and make some recommendations. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate your interest. Yeah.